Hey everybody. Is it Thursday still? It is a Thursday, isn't it? It's Thursday, April 25th, 2024, and this is one special AMA. I gotta say, aside from maybe the 10-hour AMA, this one's gonna be remembered, I'm sure, as a pivotal moment in Coinmetro history. I'm excited. I hope you guys are excited as well. Beer or coffee? Water, actually. Important AMA, water. Not so important AMA, I don't drink beer, but I guess if it was a really not an important AMA, maybe I'd have a beer. So guys, mic check, as always, might as well get the mic check out the way because there's going to be a lot of information shared here, and I really don't want to repeat myself, though I probably will at least once or twice. Come on, man. Mr. King, I need a mic check. Somebody give me a mic check. Mic is fine. Boom. All right. So I'm in the office. Might be a bit of an echo. Lots of desks. No butts and seats. So here we go. We'll start on slide one because I guess that probably makes sense. If you have a question, you can type it in now. I'll have a Q&A session after I get through this presentation. Presentation is going to take about 1 hour. I'll try to keep it less than an hour if I can. I've given similar presentations to shareholders and also internally. And depending on how much I wanted to talk and how much water and how hydrated I was, I might have went a bit longer than an hour. So sorry right from the get-go, but let's get on it. I think you guys are going to like this one. So as you can see, Client First FinTech, and underneath some important words, give you a little sneak peek of what we're going to talk about today, at least partially. The People's Exchange. We're still working on that one a little bit. Kind of sounds a little China-ish, China-y. I don't know. Not that that's a bad thing, or a good thing. I don't know. Anyway, driven, owned, and run by community. I guess everybody here knows, even if you're new, probably, hopefully, we're all about the experience, and we always try to strive and give the best experience we can. A big part of that is community, talking to, listening to, and just interacting with the community. I guess like I am right now. Well, we're not interacting yet, but we'll be interacting in a bit. So moving on. I'm going to talk a little bit about what our goals are for 2024. Well, the big time goal, which is, becoming profitable. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that in the next slide, so I'm not going to give too much away. But that is our overarching goal. Is that the only thing we want to do? Do we have a plan how to get there? No and yes. Hopefully that wasn't confusing. It's not the only thing we want to do, but it absolutely is the top level goal. Everything we're going to do from now and into the future is all based on not, best guess, not which way the wind is blowing, but all designed to make sure that our company thrives, and as a result, you guys thrive. So here we go, becoming profitable 2024. March 2024, which obviously if you're keeping track, and hopefully you're at least keeping track of the months. I mean, the day might slip by, but if a month is slipping by, you might want to call somebody. First profitable month for us since November 2021. Yeah, that's over 2 years. That's almost 2.5 years. In fact, that might be right smack on the 2.5 years, 2.5 years. You get a little sneak peek on how we did that in March. 4,442 monthly active users. That's essentially somebody that did something throughout the month. Made a trade, made a deposit, made a withdrawal, etc. Does not include people that are staking. Though we make money on people that are staking, they're not considered to be monthly active users if that's all they're doing. You can see how we made that money. Now, some of this might be a bit surprising. As you can see, the number one way we made money was via spot, which is actually off trend from, let's say, the last bull run, and just over, when we usually make our revenues. But spot, right up there at the top, nice and strong. Immediately followed by staking, and as we get further and further into a bull market, we obviously make money on staking off of the rewards that were paid by those on-chain staking services. And so when those asset prices go up before they're liquidated, revenue go up pretty easy. But staking, big piece, was a massive piece last bull run. It's going to be a massive piece this bull run. But then look at that, because I think this will be somewhat surprising for most people. Margin, all the way at the end there at 10%. I think a lot of people might have thought differently. But deposits and withdrawals, 21.5, and swap, 21.7. Generally speaking, we make most of our money between swap and spot. However, during bull markets, staking becomes a big piece. I just want to throw out a small data point in that in November 2021, the last time we hit a profitable month, we had 3 times as many MAUs. So I guess keep that fact in your head as we move through this presentation. And yeah, thanks. I see somebody posting, remember the likes. Yes, liking this video would be amazing. The more people that see this video, the better. The more people that understand what we're doing, who we are, and why they should become a part of Coinmetro. So key areas of business development. These are the things we want to work on this year. Goal one, we want to build revenue streams that are absolutely 100% resistant to market sentiment. Now, I don't think this slide is in this presentation, but essentially we did a bit of research. I say we, it's a colloquial we. But the team did some research on correlation between Bitcoin price and revenues. And not necessarily just here at Coinmetro, just broadly speaking. And well, you'd be surprised at how correlated they are. And so when you start to see Bitcoin price fall or no volatility in Bitcoin price, even worse, meaning Bitcoin's flat, whether it's at a high or a low, revenues follow almost on a one-to-one basis, which means when Bitcoin is flat, and in the future with more liquidity ETFs, you're going to have to expect that Bitcoin will be flatter than it has been ever in the history of Bitcoin. So what do? How do you make money? We need to build revenue streams that are resistant. What are those revenue streams? Those revenue streams can be things like DCA. They can be automated social trading, not necessarily on margin, but on spot. They can be other subscription type services. We are going to be building pieces of our, let's call it, revenue ecosystem that regardless of what Bitcoin is doing, will still be generating money for the company, revenues for the company, and allow us to maintain not only sustainability, but profitability even in quote unquote bear markets. Now, this could be the last 4-year cycle. I had to throw in one air quote. My apologies for everybody. Well, or, you're welcome if you were waiting. It took me, 6 minutes, almost 7 minutes. That might be a record. But one air quote in, whoever's keeping count. This could be a drinking game maybe, but I wouldn't do it because you probably won't make it to slide 43. These 4-year cycles have all been dependent on a very specific type of investor, retail money flowing into Bitcoin, retail money cashing out of Bitcoin, buying altcoins, big altcoin boom, lots more profits flowing back to Bitcoin, etc. We may not see that this cycle. We may see a different cycle, though we probably will see a similar cycle. But for cycles afterward, will probably become different. And with less volatility, means we need stable income. We're on it. That's definitely goal number one. Goal number two, increase loyalty and client retention. You guys know about levels, hopefully. If not, where you been? That is step one in that loyalty and retention goal number two. Step one and goal number two. To be honest, it's going to be a big part of goal number one as well, indirectly, and maybe even in some ways directly as we build out some additional support for levels. But loyalty and client retention, I think, generally speaking, I know we have the soon TM still hanging around. I'm getting ready. I want to pinata that sucker out of the Coinmetro ecosystem this year. But at the end of the day, I think one of the best things we've built, and I'll say it again and again, is our community. I think we've done a fantastic job at client retention and loyalty when I compare to most retail-based platforms. And I think we're going to continue to strive there, but we're going to put emphasis on that. Everything we do, aside from us being able to maintain the business and maintain revenue, profitability, stability, etc., we want to make sure that you guys are happy. And if you're happy, you stick around, and we're all happy, right? Let's kumbaya, build a fire, marshmallows, etc. Whatever you want. I mean, meat, vegan stuff, I don't know, vegetables. Goal number three, expanding presence in new markets critical for business growth. So you guys already know we're in, we have clients all over the world in 100 or something countries. We have licenses and registrations in various parts of the world. We've been looking at different areas of the world where cost of acquisition is lower and our retention is high, and also where we're able to penetrate and where we can acquire new licensing, et cetera. There is plans on the table for several different avenues, some that include regulation and or registration, some that don't, and specific countries that we want to be able to target. The first step in that process, there's two, I guess, step 1 and 2. First step is to get our website localized, meaning it's in the language of wherever we want to be targeting it. That's underway, and we're already at least 1 or 2 languages through that process. Next after that is local payment methods, and we now have a PMM or product marketing manager specifically on those acquiring those on and off ramps. And I know somebody asked about USD, questions at the end, and I'll get on to USD for sure. Let's talk a little bit about key projects. Let's talk about key projects for quarter 1, 2024. You can see, little box, nice and easy to read. Tiers update, check, done that. It was filled in, we got it out a little bit after the end of Q1. Did I say tier 1 initially? I might have, sorry about that. But we got it a little bit after Q1, but generally speaking, on time. Pushed a little bit due to some factors we couldn't control, but out the door. USD on and off ramp, that one's still stuck, and it's stuck basically. We were in the process of pushing it out, and the banking partner we had basically lost their banking partners, and thus put us back a little bit on the drawing board. They have now found a new partner, the same partner we were talking with to launch basically on our own, and so it's getting back on track. It's almost back on track. It's probably not going to come out in the month of April, but it is a priority, and there is a person singularly kind of cracking the whip on that one. CCXT out the door, and refresh rate optimization. Not that there's definitely pieces of optimization in terms of whether it be refresh or let's say mobile or our web platforms in general. But the main thing we wanted to focus on was just, a really long refresh time, which was also pushed out the door within Q1. So, some people may look at this list and think, well, I would have done this, that, or the other. I love armchair quarterbacking, Not that I don't do it myself. I try not to because I know what it's like. But anyway, everybody likes to armchair quarterback a bit. We with the resources we have, we're focusing on things we know will have an impact, and we know because we have the data to back up that there's an impact. Tiers to levels brings us the ability now to work with influencers that we've had on the back burner for quite some time. USD on and off ramp obviously opens back up the US dollar market for us. CCXT is step one in our goal of bringing on more higher frequency traders, and there's several more steps to come. You're going to see a little bit more of that in Q2, Q3, Q4, and obviously getting our app a little bit better up to speed. Going on to Q2, so we're talking about mobile, our mobile app with a native spot exchange. Right now, there are pieces of the mobile app that are absolutely native. However, spot exchange is one that isn't, and that causes a little bit, I would say, of not the best UI or UX when it comes to dealing with our app. That's a focus for Q2. DCA, dollar cost averaging, if you don't know what that is, that's basically you setting up automatic plans to, I want to buy $20 billion worth of Bitcoin on a monthly basis, or some number slightly smaller than that through Coinmetro because it's your favorite exchange. And it just allows people to get in and out of the market automatically. So they don't have to think about it. I think we all know, or we all should know, that most people that make money in this market make it by dollar cost averaging, make it by simply having a plan, sticking to it, rather than trying to trade the market because, well, this market can be hard to trade, even for the best traders in the world. New payment methods, local currencies, that goes along with localization, that goes along with new markets. Marketing website localization, again, I already mentioned it, but that's, if we're going to target a country, we want to make sure we speak their language. And infrastructure optimization. We have tech debt. We've talked about this. We have a good amount of tech debt. It's already being looked at. So I believe I might have made this announcement. We've hired a CTO recently. You're going to see him more and more probably in Telegram and other places. Sorry, Sam. He's been through all this before. We have a plan, and I am more than optimistic that we're going to hit our plan. More optimistic than I think I've ever been. Building a team is hard, man. I can tell you that firsthand. And building a team that kind of, you don't want to build mirrors. You want to build, or reflections. You want to build something that is almost like a transformer. And that's rough. It's tough. But I'm a happy man right now. So I'll put it that way. We have some additional hires coming. Somebody asked about desks. It's not necessarily to do with the desks in the office, but some more hires to announce soon. I said I wouldn't say that. Well, if you're doing the soon drinking game, then you're 2 in. So I apologize. So yeah, as I said, we want to focus on bettering the mobile experience. We want to focus on getting that first piece of let's have recurring revenue so that we can have stability during bear markets, and also pushing to once again unlock the global USD market with more payment methods, et cetera, and then also pushing localization, which will basically get our monthly active users higher, which is how we make money. Q3. Key projects in Q3. By the way, guys, once we get to the Q&A section, if there's a specific slide, if you have a question about a slide, you might as well take a screenshot of it or whatever, take a note. We get to the Q&A, you can say, can you go back to slide 7, slide 8, slide 9, whatever, and I'll go ahead and do that for you. So for Q3, Ignium integration on the top of the list for Q3. That's getting services from Ignium integrated into Coinmetro. And that's solving some of the problems that Ignium has had. It also includes a complete rewrite of Ignium code because, well, it's simply needed to be able to move forward with anything with Ignium. And it also means relighting up some of the services that Ignium has provided in the past. It's also a big piece to another section of our plan, which is going to come later, so I'm not going to make mention of it, but you'll hear about Ignium again in the coming slides. Staking opportunities, both mobile and desktop, or optimization, and opportunities for sure. So optimizing the way that you interact with staking programs, adding more staking programs, and going native both on mobile and obviously optimizing our desktop experience. Social trading, spot mirroring. So we already have had in our arsenal a social trading service, which was on margin called TRAM. Now the next element of that, combined with DCA, will be social trading on spot. It removes the risk of margin. It also allows for rebalancing of portfolios in real time based on the spot portfolio you're following. It also opens up, yes, additional revenue streams, but also potentially in the future revenue streams for users. So it's a big step down a direction that we wanted to start, since inception, and we're finally getting there. DeFi lending, the last one on the list there, but definitely not the least important. We want to start pushing further and further down this hybrid exchange idea that we talked about some time ago. DeFi lending is going to allow people to get involved in platforms that allow them to make more use of the assets they hold, allow to leverage a bit, and obviously, as we usually do, we will be doing everything we can to protect users, but we will also be making the user experience the easiest we possibly can, so that people that don't necessarily know how to manage their own wallet or simply don't understand how DeFi protocols work and don't want to read or go through the process, with the potential that they may be putting their own assets at risk, not by trading them or not by any kind of direct means, but by indirect means, because they don't understand what they're connecting to. And so that's going to be another big step in kind of something that's been stuck on the back burner for a while, which is hybrid. Q4, subscription models. Talked about it a little bit already. Levels was kind of step one down that avenue as well. Subscription models, also a step down this goal, the path of the goal, to make sure that we maintain profitability throughout bear markets. And it ties very well into levels. So long-term, again, talking about sustainable growth and maintaining our own revenues, but also giving clients the ability to save money, gain access to products without necessarily having to be, a massive user right off the gate. So kind of test us out on what if I was a VIP? What would that look like? For me, you guys are all VIPs. I just want to throw that out there. New custodial wallets integration. So this would be the start with a Q1 2025 launch. Non-custodial wallets also moving us down towards the hybrid solution, which is bringing the best of both worlds, giving people access to these decentralized services, allowing them to choose where they want to custody assets, but still giving them the ability to trade on centralized services, which at the end of the day are always going to be less latent, meaning more fast, and in reality are more transparent, because you have the ability to see essentially what you're trading against. Social trading, which includes TRAM and spot. The next kind of iteration of that are bots and strategies. So not only TRAM strategies and potentially spot strategies as well, but also bots. So being able to integrate your own bots, but also being able to choose between bots that are either hosted by others or potentially hosted by Coinmetro. So again, pushing down this path of, for the company, it's about building, products that people want to use, obviously, but making sure that we have the data to know that people will use these products, also making sure we maintain our revenue, but also giving options to people that can help them expand their portfolio, reduce their risk, and have them making money even in bear markets, which is also important, not just for us as a company. So we also have a lot of ongoing activity, and I guess you know that, but I could talk a lot on this slide, but the top here, we're talking about bug fixing. And, with the changes that are coming to our tech team, changes that have already happened, changes that are going to be happening around the business, I expect there to be less bug fixing. And I expect when there is a bug, the fixing will be, let's say, more straightforward and just optimized internally. So that excites me a lot, to be honest. The small things usually excite me the most. But not that the big things don't. New listings, so maximizing kind of the joint possibilities we have, not just for marketing, but interacting with communities, bringing stuff that our community wants, and also bringing communities to an exchange that they can trust in, trade with, and be listened to, which is not an easy thing to do in crypto or anywhere else for that matter. Working on SEO, so not only website performance, but also making sure our content is optimized so that we continue to grow up and go up the ranks and grow up for sure. Licensing, so Murcko in Europe, UAE with Vara in Dubai, and potentially others as well, and then registration in the UK, which we'll get an update in July. So we'll all see what that's going to look like come July. UI and UX improvements, onboarding process optimization, which Q3 is probably when you're going to see hopefully the last onboarding optimization that we will need to do, barring changes from regulatory bodies. Liquidity optimization as well. Somebody asked about that, a little cheeky at the beginning of the show, and I'll answer those questions, like I said, once we get to the end of the presentation. So here's just kind of an overview, a broad overview of business development versus product development, what's on the roadmap. You guys can see here, it's all that I just talked about, but you can see how we flow from Q1 into Q1 2024 all the way into Q2 2025. I mentioned non-custodial wallets were going to be worked on in Q4 of this year, 2025 Q1 as a launch, but you can see here Q2 2025 also noting that one of the major markets we want to break into at that point is Central and South America. Some countries that we pinpointed there, very low cost of acquisition, but a growing middle class, which is kind of what you need to be able to kind of generate revenue from a country. And also, we have, our staff based in Mexico that speaks Spanish, so we're primed. We also have staff that speaks Portuguese, and our website localization is happening already in Spanish and now in Portuguese, and more languages to come. And I move my mouse, so my agile click. Okay, so XCM to Mars. If you've seen any presentation that I've done, I'm going to take a sip of water for this one. Here we go. And this isn't, remember guys, at the end of this, there's going to be a la Steve Jobs, one last thing. So even if you're a shareholder, I'm sorry, you got to listen to this presentation and all the Q&A. Well, actually, it's before the Q&A, so you just have to get through the presentation. But hopefully, it's not that difficult to do. Anyway, I hope not. XCM to Mars, here we go. So redesigning XCM utility. XCM is by far one of the most important products in the Coinmetro ecosystem. If you've been around us for more than the past couple years, you know that. If you've been with us maybe the past year and a half, it may be hard to figure that out. One specific thing we did to attempt to essentially ward off what we knew was coming, which was going to be a bear market, and try to start in the next bull market in a better place, and also have just have a relatively active market throughout the bear market. Well, it didn't work. And so we brought XCM back to the drawing board from step one. And I'm going to share with you what that means. So XCM revamped. Part of every project in the Coinmetro ecosystem. What does that mean? That means every single product that we have within the Coinmetro ecosystem will be directly tied to XCM and directly tied or indirectly tied to a mechanism that is designed to bring value to XCM. Now, I've said that before I get into this one. I shouldn't even show this yet, but I've said that many times, but now we're putting it into play, and this is going to be fun. So, revamped tokenomics. We had a slide here for current shareholders and also internally about what it is now. I'm sure you guys already know what it is now. And, the old tier system, and basically almost everything was detailed there. And now we have levels. And this is what new tokenomics. Now, this is not the final version. This is what we will be kind of loading up on throughout 2024. But we're building something that's going to allow us to consistently and constantly over time add new utility to this token. And it's going to get interesting. It's going to get interesting pretty fast. So airdrops. We had the airdrop family, if you're part of the ICO, if you remember that. And we were just simply too small for any asset to really want to airdrop to any of our users because there wasn't much of a benefit for them. Now, we might not have grown by the size of Binance, et cetera, but we are now able to work with new incoming assets. We have a reputation, which is good about how we do business. And so we are able to facilitate tokens for our loyal XCM holders. So airdrops will become a thing. Mars is going to get totally revamped. That's coming up in the next few slides. You absolutely don't want to miss those. It's going to become probably one of the, if not the largest XCM utility. That's what it was designed to do initially. For a few reasons, we haven't gotten there yet, but we're going to supercharge it. And hashtag XCM challenge, another piece. Now, all these are going to be explained, so if you have questions, you can still ask them, but wait for me to explain, then post your question. XCM challenge is all about gamifying a bit XCM burning. Levels includes the multiplier and something that hasn't come out yet, burn to freeze, burn to earn. And so you know that with the levels program, there is a decay that happens. Well, you can burn to freeze that decay. And burn to, add the verb you like, is something that will also more than likely be kind of built upon in the future. Service payments. So the first step in the process of making XCM not only just a utility token, but an option to pay for things. Subscription models is going to be one of them, tied to levels. Fees in XCM, meaning you can have an XCM wallet that you can dedicate just for fees instead of having to pay in the underlying asset you're trading. That's also, again, first step down the road of service payments, which will eventually lead potentially to third-party marketplaces, internal marketplaces, etc. So, levels. You guys already know about levels, hopefully. Hopefully you did your reading, but I'm going to give you a quick recap. This is going to be a pretty quick one. So the key mechanisms behind levels. To enter a higher tier, you need to earn points. Easy. Points are earned by using the platform. Right now, for right now, that's trading for the most part, entirely, really. But staking, deposits, withdrawals, there will be more and more added to levels so that everything you end up doing on the platform, or near everything, will provide you with points. Points decay on a daily basis. Use the platform to not lose your benefits. So the more you use the platform, the more benefits you get. And if you consistently use the platform, you retain those benefits. XCM gives you a multiplier, meaning that if you have a certain amount of XCM, you have 1.xxx multiplier on your XCM, all the way up, I believe, to a 2.5x, which pushes you up the level. So gives you more benefits without you having to actually, trade the volume or hit those point thresholds. Burn to freeze, come in Q3, Q4. You're going on. Let's say you're a big trader, or you sold a house and bought a bunch of Bitcoin, but you might want to trade that Bitcoin in a month. You have a plan, and you could save significant money or even make money by trading that Bitcoin if you stayed at this level that you just purchased, or that you didn't purchase, but you got on your points. You can burn some XCM to maintain that level longer than you would normally. So when you come back from vacation or in that month or two when you need to make that next transaction, you can gain the same benefit without having to maintain that consistency. Burn to earn, also coming, same time, Q3, Q4, would allow you just simply to burn XCM to earn more points. And so combine that with the multiplier, potentially burn to freeze, you can have your own little formula on how you get the best benefit from the platform depending on how you utilize the platform. So you can personalize your own benefits based on how you use the platform. Airdrops, this one's exciting. People like airdrops, I think. Joint marketing with our partners. So regular airdrops. So for the next 2 years, and it's not saying it will be limited to 2 years. What we're saying is it's going to happen for at least the first 2 years. And why 2 years? Well, that ties in to another part of this presentation. So we'll talk about that when we get there. Regular airdrops for XCM holders based on quarterly snapshots. So we will take snapshots of how much XCM you have on your account and or are staked. And every quarter you will get hit with airdrops. And those airdrops can come from new listings, but they can also come from other things, which might even be more interesting. But more on that at some point in the future. Celebrate and burn. So we talked about hashtag XCM challenge. So to basically we want to gamify a bit the burning of XCM. People have talked about, I'd burn XCM if I could. I'd burn some XCM for sure. And I'm sure many of you would as well, especially if, you're getting something, especially if there's, I don't know, a carrot at the end of the stick example. So we want to burn some XCM as well, meaning the company. You guys can burn to earn, you guys can burn to get points. The company wants to burn a bit of XCM and be there right with you guys. So these are some examples of some milestones we're going to be using along with social media and different hopefully viral challenges for the company itself. So, we reach a certain amount of volume on a daily basis in trading, we're going to burn a certain amount of XCM. We reach a certain amount in a staking pool, we're going to burn some XCM. My AMAs reach, a surprising number of visitors. Thank you very much. Actually, I think we're at a pretty decent clip right now, so thank you guys. Please hit those like buttons and stuff and whatever, hearts and confettis, or I don't know, whatever platform you're on. Show us some love, please. But yeah, we reach a certain level somewhere on those AMAs in terms of viewership, burn some XCM. So this is, again, just a very small example, but the idea here is that we will constantly be gamifying our own success. The more success we have, the more XCM we're going to be burning. Paying for services with XCM. So this is an interesting one. So this is a culmination also of about 1.5 to 2 years of talks of trying to get what we call Coinmetro Impact out the door. Some of you will know what that is. I tip my hat over to Jason. Jason knows who he is for kind of constantly pushing on us to get this thing out of the door. And so first part is subscription model. So in Q4 this year, we'll launch a subscription-based service. So you'll be able to buy a subscription plan with fiat currency or XCM, essentially putting you, in one of those levels. And potentially for other things as well, including some amount of free trading, etc., but also tied to levels. That subscription model will be the first chance you'll have to actually use XCM as a currency. It's a utility token, but on our platform, one of those utilities will be able to use it to pay for stuff. And so that's, again, one step in what I believe is the right direction. And the other side of that is paying your trading fees in XCM. So you can pay from your XCM balance rather than paying any underlying. This way, if you're buying Bitcoin all the time on an automated strategy, you don't have to be spending some of your Bitcoin. You can buy some XCM, spend your XCM. And this way, maintain your Bitcoin balance, maintain your Ether balance, maintain whatever. And down the line, probably get some promotions as well for some discounts in your trading. Then we have Coinmetro Impact. And so all fees and payments made in XCM, so whether you're doing a subscription model or trading fees, etc., will go into what we call the Coinmetro Impact Wallet. And 2 times a year, so every 6 months, Coinmetro will burn 100% of that XCM allocated in that wallet, and we will take the euro equivalent, whatever it is on that day that we burn, and we will send it to a selected charity. Now, the charity selection, all that process will be laid out. Obviously, you guys will know how to do it. You'll be able to vote. You'll be able to do your thing, figure out. And these could be business incubators. It could be charities, anywhere that we feel that the money might go to a really good cause. And yes, that means that we're giving away some of our revenue, for sure. But what it also means is that we're finally going down this path of giving back a bit. We're going to be giving to things that we feel are not disingenuous, okay? So things that kind of tie into what we do, financial education, financial literacy, things like that, helping out other startups, et cetera, helping people, get their wonderful ideas, maybe even then, bringing them on and using their product or service. So paying it forward a little bit, yep, that's right. But also, it's still to show kind of who we are. I think a lot of people don't know who we are. Showing a little bit about who we are is only going to help us get more people helping us basically give away more money. So you like this charity, come on in, trade with us, buy some XCM, trade with the XCM, all that money is going to go to charity. And so I think that's a cool concept. And yeah, thanks, Jason, for pushing us forward. Now, the big one, Revamp Mars program. So this is what Mars currently looks like. Here you go. So percentage of staking rewards from those listed assets going into a pool and then spread out to users staking XCM. I think the idea is a magnificent one. I still do. Obviously, we didn't get the growth in those staking programs we imagined we would. It was a bear market as well. Those assets dropped in price. People generally sold off assets rather than buying them because for some reason people like to buy high and sell low. That's still a thing in crypto, well, in every market. And so while the idea and the mechanism is a good one, we needed to find a way to put a bit more rocket fuel behind this idea. And I think that's just what we did. So here comes the revamped version. This is an example of how this revamped version works. So user one goes on our spot market, so swap widget or the spot exchange, and makes a trade. 30% of those fees go to buy XCM, and they get burned. Yeah. Now, right now, 100% of those fees go, and they get burned. Okay. Well, 50% gets burned. The other XCM stays with us. And you may think, well, this is not as good. We're burning less XCM. Well, you got to wait. Another 30% of those will go to Coinmetro Treasury. So we're going to earn 33% of the fee. 33% to an XCM utility vault, 33% to Coinmetro Treasury. The other 33%, however, goes into what's called the Mars temporary vault. Now, that means that every underlying asset, Bitcoin, Ethereum, pretty much every asset on the platform that underlines a pair, meaning that it is the base currency, not the quote, and a little, I used to do this a lot, I haven't done it in a while, but a little trading knowledge for you. The first pair you see is going to be the base. That means that that's what you're trading, essentially. The second is the quote. It's what you're quoted in. For example, BTC Euro, you're buying or selling BTC, but you're buying it based on its Euro value. BTC USD, same thing. If you have a cross like XRP ETH, you're buying XRP, price in ETH. I don't know why you do that, but anyway, you get the point. So this will build up a Mars temporary vault of all these assets, 33% of all these fees in the underlying asset, not in XCM, though there are XCM base pairs, so there will be some XCM in there, will sit in these temporary vaults. We will then set a target that we want to see trading volumes more than, and here the example is 1 million euro last month on this specific token. So every token, every coin, every asset will have its minimum trading value. If those minimum trading values are hit, and yes, there will be like little leaderboards, there will be, you'll be able to see, there's only 30K left and Bitcoin will go to the Mars pool, etc. If we hit the goal, then all those assets go to the Mars rewards pool, and they all go to user staking XCM. If we don't, they go back to Treasury, just like they would have, and their profits or revenue for Coinmetro. So 33% is still always going to be burned as it is now. Other 33% is going to come to Coinmetro. The other 33% will be held back till the end of the month to see if we hit those goals. It either goes to Treasury or it goes to you. And we will gamify it, and we will make sure everybody knows how close we are with different assets and what that asset pool looks like. Essentially adding every single tradable asset to Mars. Here's a quick example just so you don't have to do the math in your head. So you have 1,000 euros traded in BTC. We have new fees now because of levels. That also means that even just 33%, especially for most newbies in tier 1 or tier 2, we're already burning more than we have in the past, even without the secondary mechanism for Mars. So you have one, this is the current one. Sorry, got ahead of myself. The current one, so 0.1% on the taker fee, 0% on the maker. So 1,000 euros traded, you have a total of potentially 2 euros in fees. It's converted into XCM. Then the net of that, and we do pay up to 40% of total received fees out for rebates and also commission rebates, etc. And so basically 0.6 euro cents goes to the vault, 0.3 euro cents is burned. That's how it currently looks. The new setup would have 1,000 euros traded in BTC with a total of 3 euros going, essentially, meaning, so in total, 6 euros are being paid because you're paying not only taker but maker fees. So there is some assumptions here about limit orders and about someone taking the other side, etc. But there was also assumptions in the previous one about exactly what we'd be making and how much we're paying in fees, because those are also not necessarily, they're a bit dynamic. But with a total of 6 euros, that means 1 euro, 33% essentially, is going and being burned like it is now, which is already more than what we're burning currently. 1 euro is going into Treasury, and 1 euro is then headed into that XCM vault, or the XCM Mars vault, or Mars vault, to potentially be paid out to the Mars program. What we will be getting rid of. So we know that there are more pieces of the Mars program than what have been described currently. APR. So the XCM APR is going away, meaning no more XCM, direct XCM benefit, no more APR on, in XCM paid to XCM holders. It was a bit counterproductive with the currently because, well, they just created a sell wall. What we want to do is incentivize people to buy XCM, but incentivizing them by adding more and more features, more and more utilities. XCM Vault is a big one. That's a huge part of it. And also, we don't want to unnecessarily add sell pressure to XCM. We want to add buy pressure to XCM. Rebates based on XCM staking volumes will be replaced by the new level system. So rebates will be removed. So those two things are going away, but I think it's a small price to pay, honestly, for what's coming. The revamping plan looks like this. So Q4 2021 through Q2 2025. We've seen levels come out already. New Mars program coming out before, basically within Q3. So between Q2 and the end of Q3. Burn to freeze and earn points between Q3 and Q4. First airdrop happening at the end of this year into Q1 2025. And between Q1 and Q2 next year, Coinmetro Impact will be rolled out. So now we come to, I guess, the one that we haven't really talked about. Well, community-driven exchange we've always talked about, but we haven't necessarily, we've been talking about XCM, we've been talking about the, tokenomics were coming, and then there was always this special thing. Now, this isn't the one last thing, so if you're a shareholder, keep the seat warm. I'm gonna take another sip of water. Keep your seat warm and, hang out a bit. I think I'm gonna hit that hour mark. I think we're pretty close. We'll see what happens. So, we've always been a community-driven business. I've come to really like the community-driven business. I really like chatting with you guys. I like interacting. I'm never gonna stop doing that. You can take my word on that one. And maybe it'll be, maybe I might get less when I'm like 90, maybe well, hopefully by then somebody else might be doing these things. But I might still pop in just to troll, because I would love the ability to troll because, getting trolled is fun, but trolling, whole nother level. But, we want to do right by the community. Our goal has always been to be owned by the community. And we've done bond raises and we did the Signium acquisition, etc. But there's another step we want to take, and it's a big one. This is part of the 5-year plan. I know we've talked about 5-year plan, but we've only really been detailing the next year or so in terms of actual length of time. This one is going to stretch out to that 5-year plan. So we've always been dedicated community. There's a nice picture of me. Seeing me twice on the same screen is a bit, I don't know. But anyway, there I am. Nice purple shirt. Slightly open. Might have wanted to close that last button. I don't know. I'll have to talk to the cameraman. But our dedication to the community has always been a thing. That doesn't mean the community always likes us. Doesn't mean we hit every marker. Doesn't mean we hit, or have hit in the past every single deadline, though I expect that to change. What it means is that we always wanted to do what's best for the community. And that's always been on our minds. Now we want to take that a step further. So what does that really mean? Well, we've never traded against clients. We don't take, liquidation fees. We don't want to see our clients lose. Risk management has always been a thing. There's been a lot of stuff that's happened in crypto, and we've done everything we can to make sure it doesn't affect our client base. It hasn't been easy, but if we need to kind of bite the bullet, we've bitten the bullet. Sustainable long-term growth strategies. So that's about goal number 2, I believe. If we scroll back to one of those slides, making sure that, because you guys are an integral part of what we do, we want to make sure that you also are an integral part of our success. Building and housing our own technology, it's been painful sometimes, but also has paid off. And it's something that we do because we want to make sure that our experience, I don't want to say is unique, because in many aspects you need to be status quo. But when it comes to certain aspects of what we do, we want to make sure you're dealing with Coinmetro. And for good reasons. I can already see somebody typing something. Open communication with our communities, with shareholders, Telegram, Discord. Yep, we can always get better, and that's always going to be something that I strive for. I want to have the best communications in finance, never mind crypto, and that's probably not the highest bar. So maybe we should even go higher than that. But we want to be known for how well we communicate. Regular AMAs, I guess you guys are. I know you're sitting on one, right? So I wasn't going to read the quote, my quote. That would be weird. So there's three pieces of that really when we break it down: transparency, accessibility, and having that human connection. Human connection is a big one. That's a big part of community. Also, accessibility, big thing. That doesn't just mean easy to use platforms. That also means, how accessible our services are. Redesigning of tiers to levels makes them more accessible, for example. Making sure that our entire fee structure, from when you onboard, when your first deposit, all the way through your first trade, all the way through, your 100th trade, we are competitive. And transparency, when we screw up, here I am, you can, you can let me have it. We know we haven't done everything perfect, but we also know that the vast majority of the people that are part of our community know we strive to be our best. And that's really all you can do in this life. But we're getting better at being our best, which I think is it needs to be said. So now it's time for the next step. It's about best of the both worlds. It's about building the first, and I still think it's the first, hybrid governance exchange in the world. And we're calling this the People's Exchange, an exchange built for the people who use it, governed by the people who use it. And we're going to go more into depth, and I'm going to go way into depth probably on the Q&A. So I'm going to save some of my thoughts for then, because I'm pretty sure we're going to get questions about it. But so what does it mean, the best of both worlds? We have Coinmetro Group. It's our parent company. Coinmetro Group essentially owns the satellites, right? So Coinmetro EU, which is our Estonian licensed entity, Coinmetro UK, which will be going through registration process or licensing process in July, or thereabouts in the UK, and then also Coinmetro UAE, who is still in the process with VARA, et cetera, and there will be more in the future. And there are several ways to attack this, and there is an exchange that is a DAO, that has a DAO connected to it. You may know them. I'm a fan of their founder. I have met him on at least one occasion. But I think the way we're going to do it is it's different. It's more flexible. I think it gives more say, more governance powers. It also allows us to be much more creative in how we deal with some issues that pop up when you have a foundation structure with a DAO attached to a foundation owning shares, etc. So we want to give power to the community. It's about decentralized, and to be honest, I'd even go to say distributed governance through token ownership. Full transparency like never before. And we're going to get into what that really means, and also talk a little bit about, and probably with some of the questions at the end, about what's the difference between being a shareholder and, let's say, a token holder in that sense. Warranting process efficiency. So there's going to be probably a lot of questions in people's minds about how do you make this type of thing efficient. So, each entity being managed daily by industry experts and having an organizational structure and them handling all the daily operations. When they engage, with regulators, when they're engaging with financial counterparties, et cetera, because, we have to hold the license and there's things that need to happen from a regulatory standpoint. But still allowing for a mechanism by which the governance organization is able to interact and is able to effectuate change without destroying the processes that need to be there from a regulatory standpoint. So giving up power to the community, again, I'm going to go with distributed, and I'll tell you why at some point here but it is decentralized, but distributed governance organization, a DGO for short. We'll explain what that means in a bit, or why that was chosen. So fully decentralized, on-chain, token-mediated control mechanism for supporting and governing those Coinmetro entities you see below Coinmetro Group in that other slide. And so to give you an idea of what the operational and strategic decisions that will be involved here, we're talking about, from an operational side, things like listing proposals, trading pair selection, staking plans, partnerships, integrations, DeFi product implementation, etc. And here's a little example you can see in the chart about what the flow would look like. So community proposal, validation phases, voting, planning by the Coinmetro team, and then implementation. Now, we're going to go into a bit of detail on how we keep efficient there, because, again, there's probably some questions, but we'll get to that. Strategic decisions coming about annual product roadmaps, marketing strategies, budgeting across those different companies, and also the ability to kick out non-executive board members, CEO, etc. So making sure we perform Not just having the ability to complain in Telegram, but having the ability to actually effectuate how the company functions, and us being 100% accountable for how it functions, myself included. Strategic decision, the flow. So this is Coinmetro teams submitting reports and submitting proposals, discussion and feedback, resubmitting final proposals, so having, let's say, proposal A, B, C, and D at first, getting feedback, having proposals A, B, and C, or A and B, based on feedback, and then voting on those. And you can see there's some fine print here, but just talking about local management. Again, regulated entities. There is a future where the decentralized distributed organization can vote potentially to open up a decentralized platform where decentralized trading can take place. And at that point, obviously, there is no local management. And so that's a very interesting, probably second step after we get through what we're discussing now. But when it comes to those regulated entities, there are certain things we can't do and certain ways we have to go about giving the power to the people, but they absolutely will have power. And again, we're going to get more on that. So here's the phase, and this is where we get into the 5 years. So in order to do this right, one, we want to make sure it's done right. Two, we want to make sure that we have a strong base right from the beginning and build on that base, and also adjust as needed as we move through the 5 years to make sure we're regulatory compliant. We want to give the most power to those token holders we can. And right now, what we feel is the most power may change in 5 years. Hopefully it changes for the better. As we are kind of regulatory first, we're going to be talking with regulators about what we're doing. They're going to know what we're doing. We're going to try and help them understand why this type of organizational structure is actually beneficial for our business model. And hopefully year 5, year 6, year 7, year 8, we see even additional things that we can do to put the power back in the people's hands. So you can see here that year 1, we're talking about laying the foundation, as I said, selecting new cryptocurrencies to list, trading pairs selection, choosing cryptocurrencies added to the staking products, and annual product development roadmaps, so being able to vote on options of those roadmaps. Year 2 to year 3, we're moving into to be able to select new DeFi products we can implement, partnerships and integrations, which could include DeFi as well, and CeFi and everything else, hybrids, and annual marketing strategies. Moving into year 3 to year 4, we get annual budgeting plans, business expansion strategies, and then finally getting to addressing more high-impact decisions about how we reinvest, our investment plans, dividend policies, etc. Moving into year 5, when we really start to get down into true kind of high-level power, which is about election of sub-entity, non-executive board members, CEOs, by the distributed decentralized governing body. The governance token holders act like a supervisory board for local entities. And then direct reporting to the token holders, meaning that just like CEOs and board members would normally go to a board, to a supervisory board, to present what's happening with the company, getting evaluated, and also potentially getting voting out if we don't hit KPIs, etc. All that power will now be held by the GGO at year 5. Sorry, I should have done this before. I just made it full screen, so now I can actually read it better. Daily operations. So in order to, there's a process by which we go from how you get, so one token holder, let's say I'm a token holder, and I say, I'd like to get something listed. I think, whatever, this token is the one we should list. So if I hold one token, I can go ahead and put up for an operational decision and ask for a quorum of voting for a token. Quorum means that you would need, as per this slide, 20% of token holders to say, yeah, I think we should vote on that. That makes sense. If there's a yes, then it goes to a vote, and if we get a standard majority, 51%, well, then we're moving forward with that. That token will be listed. That's it. It's been voted on by essentially the supervisory board. It gets passed on to operations, and operations puts it into play. For strategic decisions, the quorum's a bit higher. So any token holder can still come in and say, I'd like to see this happen. If they get 40% of token holders essentially to say, yeah, we agree, this should be voted on, gets voted on. You need a supermajority at that point, 2/3 or 3/4. This is still to be decided. And this in particular may get adjusted. These quorums are based on, research on our side, what we feel is the lowest threshold acceptable, one, to keep things optimized in terms of the process, but also not to make it overly difficult for these things to move forward. There'll be an engagement system, so depending on your platform activity, discussion on proposals, voting, et cetera, you'll get additional percentage of distributed dividends. So there are dividends tied to these. These tokens will be considered securities. Hint, hint, why we might have acquired Ignium, because they will be traded on a billboard. But there will be a little bit of an engagement. We like to say engagement rather than gamification here, but making sure that people vote, essentially. And you can see on the bottom of the screen here, just talking about whenever a quorum or super quorum is not reached during the voting period, the results of the vote are not binding. So essentially, this allows us, or CEOs or board members of those individual companies, will be able to move on decisions. They don't have to wait. Again, we need to keep it, things need to be fluid. So we want to engage people to be involved, but if there's a point where people aren't involved, we're going to still be able to move forward like any company would, so that we don't get stuck on things that delay us in the end. Governance through token ownership. So there's the governance token at the top. Your what you have, what you kind of get from being an owner of a governance token is project voting. You're able to submit community projects. You're participating in dividend distribution of at least 20% of the profits from local entities, and you have leadership evaluation come year 4 and 5. Now, I'll touch a bit on the difference between being a shareholder. So when you're a shareholder with the equivalent of 1 token, so very small percentage of share capital, you don't really have any of these guaranteed to you. 1, you can't really make a leadership valuation, because I guess you could try to get other shareholders on board, but 1, you may not know who they are, and 2, logistically speaking, it would probably be difficult. You do participate in dividends, so that remains the same. Submitting community projects isn't really a thing when you hold a very small percentage. You're just kind of a silent shareholder, project voting either. So while the governance token may not give you access to the same level of dividend distribution, for example, it doesn't, and this is only to sub-entities, so not to the group, but actual sub-entities where shareholders are sitting on the group level. It's giving you access to things that shareholders don't have. So actually having a mix, being a shareholder and a token holder, give you kind of the best of both worlds. And so that people understand what the difference here is between XCM and their governance token. So XCM's utility token, the governance token will be a security, 100%. The governance token giving access to voting power, submitting of projects, participating in dividends, and leadership evaluation, where XCM as utility token gets you access to Mars, gets you access to the level system, participation in governance token airdrops. So if you are an XCM token holder and you're staking XCM, you will get right now those numbers, so some of those numbers are still in flux, but definitely a majority of tokens that will be minted will eventually make their way through an airdrop. It might not be the overwhelming majority, and it could be just a very large minority, but at this point it looks to be a majority. And it's going to depend, because that's also gamified. We're not going to talk about that today because it's still in the works. At some point in the future it will be talked about. Understand there will be kind of a gamification model there as well, where the company itself needs to hit KPIs in order to essentially mint tokens, and then those tokens are distributed based on how well the company hit its KPI, sorry. Maybe via API, I don't know. Access to further airdrops from third-party tokens, that's an XCM benefit as well. When it comes to the governance token, there are trading limits because it trades on a billboard, which is one, again, Ignium acquired, and a lot of people thought, why are they doing this? Well, this is part of the reason. So these DGO tokens will be trading, or DIGO tokens will be trading on Ignium, or essentially Ignium's backbone. With XCM, there's no, right now, there might be some quote-unquote limits in terms of how you can sell XCM, et cetera, but in real terms, when it comes to the utility token, and in the future, there will be no trading limits, only based on liquidity, essentially. Not available for withdrawal or deposit. When it comes to the governance token, it will stay within a closed ecosystem. Not so with XCM. And for the governance token, dividend distribution of at least 20% of profits of local entities, where, XCM, no dividend distribution. So I think a clear difference between the two tokens. And one thing I want to point out again here is, if you're an XCM holder and you're staking XCM, you will get these governance tokens as a thank you for being a loyal XCM holder. As far as governance token ownership, so you'll see year one on what we mint versus what is held. So decentralized, the kind of organization itself will hold a certain amount of tokens. Coinmetro Group will hold a certain amount of tokens. Over those 5 years, Coinmetro will hold no more than 20%, with the rest being held by the organization in general. Now, the amount of those tokens and how exactly they'll be distributed and whether or not they will be minted in tranches and whether and how big that tranche will be will depend on another gamification strategy, which we won't be talking about today because it's still in the works, but it is also, I think, quite exciting and means we have to perform in order to mint tokens. So what does that do? That protects the value of those tokens. It protects the value of the token because simply if Coinmetro is not doing well, there won't be any more tokens in circulation. Every year, Coinmetro Group decreases its token holdings by airdrops. I would say at this point, at least, mostly. Share swaps, option plan for employees, burn events, and also direct sales. There will be, inside of the plan, all those come into play. Direct sales, to be very honest, the biggest piece of that's going to be right at the beginning. After that, we will be limited again based on KPIs, but the vast majority of tokens are going to make their ways into people's hands via other means. Relationship between the entities, just so that it's clear, Coinmetro Group still is the ownership level of all these different individual sub-entities. However, the DGO or the DGO, the governance token owners, still have governance over those local entities as a whole. Profit distribution is still going to go of at least 20% to the DGO. The rest of profits will be distributed back to Coinmetro Group. There's revenue-based earning as well at the group level. So if you're a group shareholder, there's a bit of a different structure as well because you're getting some revenue shares. Obviously, group owns all the IP, guys. So when we open up new entities and they use the IP, meaning anything that we've built, there's a fee involved in that. There's a revenue going back to group, which again separates what a Coinmetro Group shareholder means versus a DGO token holder. So in terms of project roadmap, this is what we're looking at. I see I'm just over the hour, but we're almost through. Finalization of Ignium acquisition, as you know, happened Q3 in 2023. And then you can read through as we go through. We've been working on kind of strategy and legal framework at the end of last year. Tokenomics are being worked on now and are roughly finalized for the DGO. Preparation for infrastructure is coming Q3. Token distribution and hybrid governance model initial launch with the first feature sets for that kind of year one governance model in Q4 of this year. So to wrap up, not yet. Well, yeah, we got something coming. This will be shared on social media as well, guys, by the way, tomorrow, so you'll be able to catch up on it if you don't take a screen grab. But this is the product development, XCM, and our hybrid governance organization, what that kind of roadmap looks like between now and Q2 2025. Just a nice little summary, so you can take a screenshot, but again, it'll be on social media, so you'll be able to take a better screen grab of it tomorrow, I believe. And one more thing. So before I jump into this one, I have a few things to say. Since the beginning, the beginning of time, when XCM was nascent and everyone was super excited and nobody knew what crypto was, but they just wanted to support what they thought was going to be an awesome business. There was always an idea that we wouldn't do, I don't want to say do no harm because that's the Google thing, and I don't know if they're following that anymore. But the idea was let's do things differently. Differently meaning not like let's have a crazy colorful platform. We tried that, it didn't work. But we want to do things differently. We want to treat our clients differently. We want to emphasize the fact that finance doesn't have to suck, and that you can deal with companies that you trust and that do the right thing, and even when it's not necessarily the best thing for them as an entity, etc. And we've in the past have had back and forth on what we should do to make sure that the end user kind of gets the best experience. And we don't always get those things right. So, XCM price floor removal. Set your clocks, save the date, 21st of May, 2024. We will no longer have a price floor on XCM. and we will not revert to a price floor on XCM. We talked about this a lot internally. I'm sure we're going to get some questions on it. One note to add, if you have open margin exposure, if you have collateral, etc., you will be contacted individually by the 7th of May from somebody from our support team to let you know what we're going to be doing before that floor is pulled. There'll be, no last minute thing, no last minute decisions. This is going to be, project managed to the best of everyone's ability. But floor is leaving. There are things that will happen relatively soon after the floor leaves. This is going to include market makers. This is going to include, obviously, the Mars push, etc. That's all coming. The tokenomics revamp, etc. And we will have internal KPIs and performance bonuses internally in the company based on XCM value. The entire company will be focused on making sure XCM rises in value and maintains value over time. And everything we do is going to be focused on XCM. XCM will be the boss of all bosses for Coinmetro, including me, including our supervisory board, including our DGO token holders. XCM is the boss, and we want to make sure the boss is happy. And so we're all going to be working towards making sure our token is not only the best exchange token out there in terms of utility, but also well known across this space, tradable and liquid. So there you go. XCM floor removal, set the date 21st of May. And there we go, Q&A session. So I'm going to open it up for questions. Now, I'm going to scroll back through these questions. Now, if there's something that I think I might have already answered, I'm going to skip it, and I'll let you know I'm skipping it. But if you want to re-ask it, you can go ahead and re-ask it. So here we go. I got to scroll. There's quite a scroll here. Here we go. All right, so I'm going to try to get these quick, Adam. So in all seriousness, I think for some reason, we needs the liquid was the first comment. So after seeing market maker testing for the past 6 months or on Coinmetro with volumes jumping into 5 to 40 million, what can we expect from these market makers and liquidity providers? Will there be permanent liquidity? Yes, there's permanent liquidity. Yes, we've added multiple liquidity providers and market makers. Some of them took longer to add simply because most liquidity providers, well, everybody offsets their risk somewhere, but liquidity providers generally do that themselves. And so liquidity providers usually integrate faster, but they also service less assets. So liquidity providers service majors, not a lot of altcoins. The market makers that service altcoins require most of the time the counterparty to open up accounts at other counterparties, fund those accounts, so that they can go ahead and offset the risk at those other counterparties as they're market making in another book. And given that that's difficult to do because, well, opening exchange accounts is never easy. Opening exchange accounts for an exchange, whole nother level. And, kind of everything that's done to kind of slow that process down is usually done. And so a couple hiccups there. There's also been some different testing and some technical things that had to happen. We've already integrated on different pairs. One of those liquidity providers, Stillman, probably across 60-70% of the pairs, I think they are active. There's switching, manual switching, which will become automated switching. The market maker on the rest of the pairs is now integrated. It's just a matter of making sure we have enough counterparty accounts. Those counterparty accounts are funded, but there's also a plan in place so that we don't have exuberant counterparty risk. So there's a lot of pieces of the puzzle that need to come in, but they are coming together. And so, yeah, that's a work in progress. Paul asking about USD. So, yeah, we had a signed contract and we were integrating with one of the biggest fiat providers for USD in crypto. They then lost their banking provider for non-US based exchanges. They had to scramble to find a new partner. So did we. We both found the same partner, funny enough. They mentioned they were going to work with this partner a few days after we contacted them. We are now in the process of onboarding directly as well, just in case. We've been told by the original provider that they should finalize their agreements within the next few days. We're also on the same pace. So we have, in the past, Coinmetro has had a team that focused on all these different things under product. Now we have specific project managers that focus on specific projects, and it's definitely made a change. And there is one person specifically on and off ramps, and this is what he does all day, every day. And I definitely make his life more difficult by forwarding him emails every day about providers that I've talked to. So it's moving, and we're moving as fast as we can. It is a major thing for us because it will probably increase our revenues by double digits in terms of percentage as soon as we're able to light it back up, and we are in the process of doing that. So in Telegram, I'll be pretty open with you guys when we know it's imminent, and we're getting there. I'm gonna stay away. Paul, you have I know I answered a few questions already, but I'm gonna try and keep the questions more to this presentation, and then if we still have time and people still want to listen to me talk, I will come back and take on some of the more business-related questions that don't have to do with this, if that's okay with everybody. So here's one. For staking revenue, are you selling the tokens you've earned via staking on CM, or are you selling it elsewhere? So for staking revenue, generally speaking, it depends. So it still gets sold generally within our ecosystem, because obviously we have liquidity providers and market makers. So sometimes we do go direct and get what would be called an RFQ, or request for quote, kind of like an OTC deal, depending on the volumes. If we have inventory, we sometimes will add inventory to the book to also provide liquidity. In the future, with more inventory, I do believe you will see our inventory in the book more often, though we still do that on occasion. For example, XCM does not be a staking, but just as an example, XCM that we buy, it goes through the book for sure. Everything goes through the book. And we do put things in our own books at times as well. It really depends on connectivity. Some liquidity providers, for example, only provide us with a certain amount in the book, but can provide more on request or based on dynamic kind of action within the book within a specific time frame. So sometimes we go direct, but it's still within our ecosystem, meaning that if the volumes get high enough and we benefit from lower cost, eventually that lower cost comes to our clients as well. So yeah, I'm gonna try to skip ones that aren't exactly related to this, related to the topics at hand. But again, I'll come back. So be patient with me. How many target languages for local sites? I think 12 or 15. I don't remember exactly, but it's somewhere in that range. I think we're on the second language after English, so third language all in. Let's see. Well, we already use AWS, Chloe, but feel free to find them on LinkedIn. We love a discount because we are paying way more than we should, I think, compared to any other provider. But I'd love to hear why. So yeah, reach out to Sam, please. How many DeFi products are on the books? Right now, products, so I think generally these things will become more like marketplaces. So when I think of products, I don't know. We could be talking about dozens, but in the near future, Q4 this year, Q1 of next year, we're talking probably about 2 to 3 products underneath what may become marketplaces like lending and custody, for example. Adam, an exchange that cares about the community? Yeah, I hope that was already evident. I mean, maybe, it's a lot of people think, this stuff is easy and we can just snap our fingers and, we should just willy-nilly make decisions. But unfortunately, that's not how it works. But we've definitely been community focused. Is there any chance of burning the staking rewards without claiming them? Hey, Blaz, I assume you might be a German resident. So yeah, I think this might be tied into Coinmetro Impact. If that's the case, this was one of the ideas initially for Coinmetro Impact, was to kind of have a staking program where the staking rewards would be able to go to charity. And I think that will be like a V 1.1 or 1.2 or 2.0 of Coinmetro Impact. Given that we were revamping Mars anyway, this is the first step for Coinmetro Impact. But I think this idea has legs, and I think it will be something that will be included in the future. So we've definitely talked about it, but it's been a while since we talked about it, but yeah. Well, CM is the main concern. Look, I don't want to make this sound, why do most businesses do charity? I would hope in my heart that it's because they want to do good, but mainly it's probably tax incentives and also goodwill marketing. And there is an element of goodwill marketing here. It's about us being able to say, look, if you're going to give to this charity anyway, and you were thinking of buying Bitcoin, why not come and buy Bitcoin with us? Buy some XCM, which, by the way, helps us directly, for sure, and it's about Coinmetro and all the Coinmetro users who hold XCM. And, let us burn it and send it to one of your favorite charity. People aren't going to do that with every transaction. It's not going to probably be the vast majority of funds that come into Coinmetro, but it allows us to give back. It allows us to talk to people that want to give back and separate us from, other organizations. And I think that there's definitely some marketing involved there as well. But I dare say that it also is because we want to do good, but there definitely is marketing involved. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. How do you plan to increase the number of active clients? Well, we do marketing. We've been doing a lot of marketing, actually, advertising. And there will be budgets for advertising rolling into Q3, Q4. So, yeah, that's how. Good old advertising. Any chance of burning Mars staking roads in the form of XCM without claiming them? Yeah. And I think, again, this is something we can look into. And I get the tax reasons. You're welcome. We'll see an increased referral bonus and sign-up bonus. We have an affiliate program that was supposed to be launched quite some time ago that's going to come out now that Levels is out, and there will be changes made which will help the XCM book and also give a little bit back. So there are some changes coming as well. You need organic volume for this to work still. Cool design, though. Well, everything needs volume, Adam, and I don't know if it necessarily needs to be 100% organic, but yes, there has to be volume. But you can't, it's always a chicken and egg scenario. You need to create something that's enticing, and then you need to hunt for the volume. And what we've done in the past, I think, was created something enticing. That the mechanisms in the initial Mars, the mechanisms even in the burn that we have connected to XCM in the spot market are incredible. We just didn't accomplish the goal of getting more monthly active users to use the exchange, so they became as incredible as they could be. And so we wanted to make sure that we had a revamp, that we did everything we could to provide as much utility, et cetera, during the rest of 2024 as we roll into 2025, as we get past U.S. elections, et cetera. The expectation is, broadly speaking, that's when we're going to start to see the market pick up in general, where we expect to see a lull here, bit of a range, et cetera. It doesn't mean there might be some altcoins that don't shoot to the moon. I mean, that's going to happen, but more money and more confidence coming into the market towards the end of this year into next year. And we want to be primed with the best narrative we can, the best product we can, the best user experience we can, far better than anything you've ever seen at Coinmetro. And then we turn on the advertising with a team that knows what they're doing, that has been a little bit held back because we didn't have the budgets. What's the reason for, so this is not necessarily to do with this, but I'm going to answer this one. So we had some projections in the past we considered to be conservative, and we missed them. And what does it make me think about future projections? Well, I'll start off by saying projections are always projections, right? You can assume lots of things and you can use data, but you could be wrong. And only one wrong thing can totally destroy your projections. And the last time we made those projections was pretty much at the tail end of a bull market into a bear market. And we didn't necessarily expect the bear market to be the bear market we saw. And we didn't expect to see the amount of, let's say, loss of revenue, going from near $1 million in monthly reoccurring revenue down to 40,000 at the low. So, those things were unexpected. And because a lot of things happened at once, we also had a lot of really bad press about crypto, whether it be FTX, whether it be all the Silvergate, whether it be, all these different companies that went under. That didn't help. That didn't help with fundraising. It didn't help us to raise money. It didn't help us to allocate funds. We thought we were going to have more money to advertise, et cetera. We assumed we were going to have hires in the right place, et cetera. We couldn't because of lack of resources. So lots of things happened. We now have a team, new people coming on board, current team, plus I think a unified vision inside the company that we've never had before, along with timing, which is vitally important in this market. And yeah, I guess this is kind of a similar vein to what I just said, in that I don't know how many projections you've seen for businesses. I've seen a lot. And depending on how honest that business is and what access you might have had to see the actual projection versus maybe what was made public, projections are normally missed. Whether they're missed by a large extent or a small extent depends on a lot of things. You know, we never made a projection we didn't think we could reach. And we learn every time that we make a projection or we make a promise and it doesn't come true. We find out why it didn't come true. Sometimes it's just our mistakes, we simply don't execute, we don't fulfill, we don't get it over the line. Others are things we can't control. But even with things you can't control, you figure out how to adapt so the next time that happens, you're ready. And having been through now basically 2 bear markets, having been through low resources, high resources, profitability, not profitability, super low revenue, high revenue, comparatively speaking, et cetera, and just figuring out what this market needs, where we actually make our money, not just with data, but also understanding just how the general market functions. We get more and more confident, we get better. And, the company's been around for 6 or 7 years. I know you can look at some of the competitors that might have gotten lucky. They might have just done everything that they shouldn't have done and blew up, et cetera. But there's definitely a lot of companies that tried to do what we've done and failed. And they're not here anymore. And we're still here. And we try to make every right decision. We try to make sure that we don't, completely go against our own modals and that it's difficult, man. It's a difficult process. Business is not easy. It's definitely not easy when you have so many people you're responsible for. Or responsible to. Shareholders, token holders, and now more token holders and community members. So nothing we've said in the past we thought, we'll just say this and never gonna happen. At the time we said it, we thought we would hit it, and we had a plan to hit it. Things happen and we weren't able to hit the mark, but we learned. Man, here we go again, back up at the plate. And every time I'm more confident. And I know I've said I'm confident in the past, and for different reasons I've been confident. And for different reasons, I know the company has matured and gotten better over time. But now I honestly feel that when it comes to tech, when it comes to product, when it comes to our ability to look at data, our ability to kind of generate revenue, our ability to maintain that, our ability to service and focus, and the team we have built and will continue to build with new hires that are coming in relatively soon, I just see a completely new future for Coinmetro. I see a future that I would have loved to see a few years ago, man. But here we are, we're in the now. I like to live in the now. We can talk about what happened in the past, and I'll take all the mea culpas I have to, but I know in the future I'm not gonna have to take as many, and that makes me happy. Okay, this doesn't really have anything to do. So I'm gonna take this again. I didn't wanna take, this kind of has something to do. It's about the future. So just saying that I don't see how any tier changes and that nature can salvage the current situation. How would this get people interested in buying millions of XM without onboarding thousands more users? I think, it puzzles me a little bit. I don't know if it's O-Roast or O-Roast or O-R-O-S-T. Anyway, it puzzles me here, the thinking process, right? It's like, how is this gonna get you a bunch more users? How is this gonna completely change everything? I don't remember at any point in this presentation saying this is all we're doing. Like, there's no new people coming on board. There's no new strategy. There's nothing happening behind the scenes. We're not making any other changes. This is it, by the way, and this is gonna bring us to be bigger than Binance. Nope, no, never said that, wouldn't say that. This is a big piece of a much bigger picture. Levels was one piece. This is another piece, a bigger piece, and Levels was included in this, so it's a bigger piece, but it's not everything. There's a lot of things that need to happen for us to onboard thousands more users. Tech debt's one of them, for instance. Our mobile app getting attention it needs, et cetera, APIs, et cetera, bringing on market makers, incentivizing large traders. All those things are happening and will happen. We understand that a Levels program isn't going to bring us 1 million users. We realize that. We get a lot of comments like this where it's like, if I was, what I would do, or what should have happened is, you just need more users, bro. Like, that's it. Like, easy. Yeah. It's not that easy, actually. I know, looking from the outside in, it may seem easy because you see other people doing it. But you also don't know what they did to get those users. You don't know what they paid to get those users. You don't really know what the impact of the business is on those more users. It's not, and it's intricate, it's complex. And so what you're seeing is a high-level overview of what we're going to be doing, but not the entirety of what we're going to do. We know we need to advertise. We know we need to fine-tune and optimize our internal marketing and external marketing, and we know we need to advertise externally. We know we need to get sales moving. We know we need to optimize certain things and get on influencers and get those influencers on with their communities. We know all this, and it's part of the process. How much more? So again, I'm going to stick with... All right, Ors, I'm going to skip your last one there because I just want to jump down to try and get into some more questions about this particular presentation, but I can come back, so stick around, my friend. Let's see. So here's one. If I miss you, just make sure you ask your question again, and I apologize because I'm trying to moderate myself here. Can you imagine if someone calls for a vote for raising the floor to €1? Yeah, well, this is why, rules are in place, and this wouldn't be voted. This wouldn't ever come to a vote. So yeah, there will be rules in place that have to be there for certain reasons, and yeah, and that wouldn't be something we'd be discussing. Thank that. I think the gamification is going to go a long way. Look, this is a very specific question, and this is a marketing question, and this would be great to ask to our revenue officer, Camille, in Telegram, but I'll give you a little bit of a color on this one. It's not rocket science how you get new users, but you need money. You need resource. And you need to know that when you spend those resources, the clients that come in will have a good experience. We need to get rid of some tech debt. We need to optimize a few things here and there. We now have a team. We have a plan. We have a new structure that is conquering those things as we speak. I just came back from Warsaw, where we had a powwow with basically tech, system operations, architecture, product, revenue, etc. And that's one of many. And so there are concrete steps, but it's not rocket science, man. It's getting the platform ready to receive those users, advertising and bringing those users in, and optimization. That's it. Any partnerships with other exchanges? Will other exchanges have a vested interest in Coinmetro? Well, that remains to be seen. That potentially could be something that happens with the DGO, with the DGO, with the decentralized distributed, let's say, token offering. But right now there isn't specific talks. We are in talks with an exchange or two, but it's more about potential, let's say, more on the biz dev side, at least right now. Yeah, well, more power on CZ then. I don't know if you can do that from a jail cell though, so we'll have to see. All right, so I'll take this one. So I knew this would come up, and trust me, this has been in my own head, and I've talked about it with some of our larger holders. I've also talked about it with a lot of our smaller token holders, and also with people internally. And it was a battle for me back and forth. The one thing we've never really, that we tried to do in the past but never really hit the ball out of the park, was making sure that XCM was a priority. And that was hard to do with the type of team structures we had in the past and the resources and et cetera. And I know I keep saying resources, but it's just a fact of life. What we did putting the floor in, the intentions were all good. What we've seen now is that the market may have already started to shift from its previous 4-year cycles, but at the same time, I do believe we will provide enough value to XCM over the next 12 to 18 months that 60 cents would not be an issue in terms of value. But what I don't want to happen is that the fact that we're kind of limiting people to find a value lower or a price lower, that they get pushed away and don't want to jump into the ecosystem. And knowing that we need the token liquid to bring in market makers. I didn't want to have that situation this time next year and already potentially be in a wave of buy pressure and miss some of that buy pressure. And so timing is very important here. The initial idea was we would start to roll out some of these new token Amex, Mars, et cetera, see what happens Q3, Q4, and then with kind of the culmination of the new token launch, look to see what we need if XEM was liquid. My idea now is that if in reality it became liquid at 60 cents, it will be at 60 cents at the end of the year anyway. Why? Because markets are all about price versus value. There's a price. Right now that price in XEM is 60 cents, but people don't see the value, so they don't buy it. If they see the value, they buy it. And if they see the value at 60 cents, the price will be at 60 cents. And it will be liquid because there'll be market makers in play as well and a market from everybody else. If we got to the end of the year and they didn't see the value, we would have had no choice but to remove the floor anyway so that we could bring in market makers. Or we may risk missing out on what is kind of a choreographed, typical crypto cycle. And so I don't think this is against our ideal of protecting clients, because at the end of the day, those that came into the market, with margin longs, et cetera, are going to be contacted, and we're going to do right by those people. And the company's goal, like I said, there will be KPIs in the company with performance bonuses attached to them, all revolving around the strength and health of TM. And so I think it's the exact opposite of this. Just sometimes, you need to make tough decisions to move the ball forward. And after sitting down and really thinking about it, I didn't see a reason to wait. Entirely. There'll be more information released about this after we start contacting specific clients around the 7th. And so this will be, right now there's no time, but there will be. Honestly, I think after this experience, me personally, I don't ever want to have a technical floor. Our goal will be to have a floor, but that floor is just based on liquidity, meaning that there's client orders in the book is liquid, and thus, there's kind of well, I don't want to call it a floor, but there's support, and we want to build that naturally this time. So, hey Bob, I think I did maybe I didn't say the word "I'm sorry," but I think that's premature, and I think it's premature of what I just answered to the other community member. We absolutely want to protect the value. We want XEM to be worth way more than 60 cents. We don't want to miss out on the coming market moves. We do not want to be stuck in a situation where we're forced to remove it anyway at a later date because we need to bring in liquidity. Again, if we do our job and we're still doing of everything you've seen here plus more, there will be value in XEM above 60 cents. Thus, price will will come and meet the value. And that means that regardless if we removed it now or later, price will trade above 60 cents at some point. So why wait? Why not try and catch some of the potential bullish nature of the market between now and the end of Q4? And especially because right now, there may be somebody that says, you know what, this plan is really cool. When we start executing and we're in Q2, Q3, they're like, look, price is already moving. It was at X, now it's at 3 times that. I'm buying. And maybe that's lower than 60 cents. But it allows people to come in and buy, new token holders to come in, older token holders to exit that may want to exit. And hopefully that's not you, Bob. But somebody may want to exit at a lower price, but that's only going to fuel the price higher for you and get us back to where everybody wants to be. This is more product related. There is a delay in Octa staking, but as far as I remember, it's not Q4. And yeah, I think JX 1977's comment is also accurate, Bob. I mean, the initial idea of the floor was to protect clients. What we have done now, though, is kind of limited the client's ability to be in the market, which is not something we wanted to do. And yeah, also followed up here, I think that's a consensus we came to as well. Well, Uh, I wouldn't say I think the bull market has started, but I think we are well within the guidelines of the market. Meaning, we've seen the halving. Normally, before a halving, whatever, we would see near market highs and then a range. Here we saw a new high, but according to inflation, we didn't. But we saw a new high by a certain percentage, not a massive percentage in terms of Bitcoin, and now we see a range. And that's normally what we've seen in the past 3 to 6 months. But we normally, with about 3 months in, you'll start to see Bitcoin pick up, and then people take profits 6 to 9 months after the halving. That money then goes into altcoins. That coincides with Q4, Q1. We're seeing that play out, at least more or less up to this point. What I want to do is not lose out, because even though there might not be a quote-unquote bull run, if you look at past bull runs leading up to that Q4, more money starts to flow into the market. And with us, imagine we're going to be paying at some point, Q3, Q4, advertising. There's marketing. We're doing these things. We're hitting. We're executing. We're actually pushing stuff out the door on time. And it's new and it's innovative. I want people to come in and buy XCM. I don't want them to come in and say, oh, maybe they come in and say, oh, 6 cents, okay, cool, that's worth it. But then go, oh shit, I didn't know about this price floor thing or whatever, right? I don't want to dirty the water, right? So I want to be able to take advantage of these things. I want people to be able to take advantage of buying XCM. I want people who want to get out, and I want people who to stay in, to have a chance of picking up some of this, liquidity that's going to roll into the market, and I think that's important. So Ignium. Ignium has a billboard market, which is a market that allows peer-to-peer, where the peers negotiate with one another and execute the trades between themselves without any mediation. That means that no license is required. So our DGO or DIGO token will be able to be traded as a security on that billboard, and we have a place that it can trade. Also, people that were bondholders and are now Coinmetro shareholders, or just regular Coinmetro shareholders from the group level, will be able to trade their shares. Eventually that gets integrated into Coinmetro, and those things become products of Coinmetro. And then we're able to integrate other aspects of Ignium. And while there might be some businesses that Ignium has that didn't make money, and we don't see necessarily them making money, many of the businesses that are revenue streams that Ignium was running will be integrated into Coinmetro and become Coinmetro properties. But without having the Ignium infrastructure, especially this billboard market, launching this DGO token or this DGO token would be almost impossible, because we'd have no way to actually trade the token, especially from a regulatory standpoint. Can you shed a light on what are the things that are coming after the floor removal? Surely you will enable a market maker to function in the book. So yeah, I mentioned that already. So what I will say is that actually right now, you should no longer be able to open trades in XCM. Market orders will no longer function. You can also no longer place limit orders in the book, but you can cancel them. That's going to remain in place until the 21st. And leading up to the 21st, we more than likely will open up the book to add limit orders at any price you see fit to build up the book before the 21st. Once the 21st happens, we'll obviously wait a bit of time to see where the book settles. And then market makers, yes, will be added, more than one. We have at least one market maker, maybe even two. And then we also have market making strategies that can be deployed by individuals, at least two of that we've talked with in the past. So over time, now that's not yet in the roadmap, so I can't give you an exact date, because it will depend on a few things about how XCM settles. But as soon as we start to see settling of XCM, meaning that there's an amount of buying happening, right off the bat, once XCM settles, all the XCM we would have purchased up until May 21st in terms of the current buybacks that we do on XCM and commissions on spot, that will go into the book. So we will throw that into the book based on where the book settles. So that will provide a first bit of liquidity, and then based on that amount, we will at some point thereafter provide market making. But just to repeat, because I was supposed to mention this, I'm glad somebody asked a question that made me remember it. Limit orders no longer will function. You won't be able to add new limit orders in the book between now and and somewhere near May 21st. You also will not be able, there will be no market buying. This way, no one's going to come in and buy at 60 cents and then have the floor removed from them. Coinmetro will also not be buying at 60 cents, but anything we would have bought in, the euros or dollars or whatever that we would have bought in XCM with, or Bitcoin or whatever, will be used to buy Bitcoin once the floor is removed. So Have you considered moving XCM to Cardano? We are considering XCM on layer 2s. I can't say that Cardano is or isn't one of them, but yes, that's absolutely going to be a thing. After the floor is removed, no limits will be in place. Thank you, MVB. I appreciate that. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for being with us. I don't know if you're still with us, but an hour and 39 minutes in, I appreciate that. Any thoughts on possible merger with FXPig, rolling out those sweet FX fees into buying XCM? We are looking at the possibility of adding in FX, CFDs, etc. That's probably a Q3, Q4 2025 thing at the earliest. Not sure about FXPig for a few reasons. One is licensing. As we get more restrictor licensing inside of Coinmetro, we probably would want to partner with something with more stricter licensing than Vanuatu, which FXPig has their license currently. But FX potentially becomes a thing when it comes to sustainable revenue. It is something that we've talked about. I'm very happy with the floor removal. We need a clean slate. That said, for those who bought at 60 cents when it first came out, there may be a plan to... Again, people will be contacted with open exposure on XCM individually by May 7th. That's the plan. And you'll be able to talk directly with somebody. And our goal is to make sure that it is fair. We don't want people live with a bad taste in their mouth, I should say. So that's coming. Yes, there is, but our first attack is going to be South America and Portuguese and Spanish-speaking countries. Hey, Kevin, I'll answer for him because Kevin went to the bathroom. What can Dow decide when a 5-year roadmap has already been planned? Is the board the big planners and the Dow holders the small planners? Well, the 5-year plan is about is specifically related to the governance function of the Dow-like structure. But it's not, Dow owners won't be voting on the already in place kind of plan to get the Dow in place. But once the governance gets to the point where they're able to vote, as I talked about, they're going to be able to vote on pretty much every plan. Think of them as a board. So just like the CEO and the C-suite would have to go to the board to say, here, this is what we think we should do. And the board goes, nah, let's go with this one, or let's go with that one, or we don't like this, here's some feedback, do it again. That's essentially the power that the decentralized organization will have. There will absolutely be things in place that will not allow a single token holder to hold more than a certain amount of tokens. Right now, the idea is 20%. That's why Coinmetro Group won't own more than 20% and can never hold more than 20%. There will also be different quorums, et cetera, that make sure that we can't have essentially a cartel take over a vote. But those things happen as well in publicly traded companies, and so the same type of mechanisms we would employ here. Oh man, blast from the past. I still show pictures of that Kevin pillow every now and again. It's quite the conversation starter. So nice to see you, man. I'm glad you're still around. You might need to make a new pillow with a balder Kevin because that one has way too much hair, I think. Shall we unban Harold on the 21st of May as well? Come on, man. Let's take it one step at a time. Let's not go crazy. I was hoping the body pillow was Photoshop. Well, sorry. See, good thing you came. That was actually the one last thing, was the body pillow. So I appreciate him coming in and saying that because that was actually what I wanted to share at the end here. So you're welcome. Will APR remain for existing staking contracts or right now the plan is that APR will simply end and not remain for contracts that are currently open. I don't know if Reme is actually banned. I think he's just no longer with us in one way, shape, or form. But I don't know if, it's one thing if someone was banned because all they did was talk about the floor and it just got nonsense, but I don't think that was the reason. But I could be wrong. But I'm not a community mod, so to be honest, not really my decision. It's never easy to bring change and disruption. That's why only a handful of folks choose to do it. The People's Exchange, if they push it forward, lots of moving parts. Thank you, LinkedIn user. Yes, as said, Adam, that's in place so that people don't come in and buy at 60 cents when we already now publicly announced we're going to remove the floor. It'll be in place, no limit orders either, until right now I'm going to say probably 1 to 2 weeks, maybe slightly longer than that, before the floor gets removed. You will have the ability to add limit orders anywhere in the book. But those limit orders won't execute even if they match until the book is then kind of opened back up on May 21st. So yeah, that's how that's going to work. I think €1 and well beyond that for sure. What about everyone that bought XE in the past 2 years? So again, that's already been addressed, and those people will be contacted. In terms of spot buying, there is a remedial amount of spot buying at 60 cents and above. And so those numbers are still going to be looked at internally, but right now, as I said, anybody with exposure on margin, longs on margin, where really there was much more risk. Have to understand that even if the floor wasn't in place, anybody can take a guess at where the price would be right now, but I would imagine at some point it would have probably went below 1 cent. Maybe we'd be at 5-6 cents now, maybe lower because that's where it was on Uniswap as a low, but Uniswap had way less liquidity, so potentially we could be even lower than that, but it would be far lower than it is now. So buying on spot is one thing. Buying on margin with a guarantee that it's riskless is a whole nother ballgame. So baskets require a different license than we currently have. Actually, that was in our white paper. We called those, oh my God. I got to think about this one. Somebody probably remembers it. Somebody probably even has the white paper as their desktop screensaver or something. But we definitely had this in our white. This is something that I'd like to add in the future, but it does require different licensing. However, under MiCA, I think it would make it possible. So 2026. Awesome. Well, I'm glad that's going to get resolved for you. I haven't really looked too much into Bitcoin layer 2s, though. I have, obviously read about ordinals and et cetera, et cetera. I do think that we were going to get involved some way, shape, or form, though in a lot of these things, when they're super nascent, it's hard to pick a winner. And you either list all of them or you list none of them. And listing all of them is not really how we do business here either. So we'll probably wait on the sidelines a little bit. But eventually, yes, we probably will, depending on how, obviously, they get picked up. We probably will be supporting in one way, shape, or form some layer 2s. Why wall remove liquidation was being activated? Hey, Manoush. Yeah, the liquid guy. I don't understand the question, but all I can say is if there's, again, open exposure on margin, when that wall is removed, that will be dealt with beforehand. By May 7th, on May 7th, people will be contacted. If they have open exposure, either collateral of XCM on margin or open margin orders, longs, etc. ETCFs, Jet Fuel, man, thanks for coming in for the win. Yeah, so I don't remember if it was electronically traded crypto funds or, yeah, I think it was electronically traded crypto funds, if I'm not mistaken, or exchange traded crypto funds. I think it was electronically though. Anyway, yeah, so that we've always wanted to do that. Just, yeah, haven't had the licensing, but I think under MiCA that'll change. So now I think I got to the end of the list. I might have missed your question. If your question had something that wasn't necessarily tied to this presentation and you want to re-ask it, go ahead. I'll wait a few minutes. As those questions roll in, I'll answer them. We're about 1 hour and 48 minutes in. Had a lot of viewers today. Please smash those like buttons. I really do appreciate it. Subscribe, do all that stuff. I hate asking for you guys to do that stuff, but it would really be cool. Love to see our viewers smashing those buttons. I'm not going to do like an open mouth screen grab or something. Sorry, but please, likes. Everybody likes likes, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. I commissioned an artist for the body pillow, so it is unique. It was paid with XCM profits. Once I trading, I commissioned an updated, more bolder one. Thank you. I appreciate that. I don't know if everybody else appreciated it, but thank you. P.S. I'm getting married in September, so if you could ensure XCM is thriving by then, my honeymoon could be epic. All right, Jack. I'm gonna try and incorporate that into our internal KPIs. Jack needs to go on his honeymoon. We're gonna do our best, man, and I mean that. We will do our best to make sure that XCM is shining. And I think at any price, liquid is going to be the first step in the right direction, and then sky's the limit. And yeah, congratulations. Insight on where XRP is going. Well, I guess we had the shock and awe of kind of them being sued, them spending an exorbitant amount of money, and then being told, yeah, whatever, we're just not going to move forward anymore. So, which is actually a worse result for me. It just shows that 4-letter agencies can sue you for shit they know is probably they're never going to win, or they even know they might not win, but just make you spend an exorbitant amount of money fighting a case and then walk away. It's still a win for them, really. So I don't know, XRP for me, definitely there is some utility in XRP. A lot of people use XRP to move money between exchanges, et cetera, because of lower fees and faster transactions, et cetera. But there are other chains that do the same thing. And while a lot of Ripple's underlying businesses have little to do with XRP, I know they have tried to integrate, and they have a few products that do integrate XRP. I haven't really read up on XRP in the latest. I think if the fundamentals of them on paper winning that case hasn't pushed price, I think it's going to be difficult to see why that price should move, fundamentally speaking, in this upcoming bull run. But I wouldn't necessarily say that can't happen. I haven't necessarily seen anything that piques my interest. Doesn't mean we can just, at some point in the future, yes, with a liquid market, XCM is 100% of collateral, absolutely should be a thing. No reason why not. We just need to have the liquid, but as Manouche would say. Having an exchange run by people for other people is truly revolutionary. I appreciate that. Thank you. It has been our goal, and I'm very happy that we're now making strides to get there. Well, more strides, I should say. Thanks, man. I appreciate you guys being here. Almost 2 hours in. It was fun. I think the time went by pretty fast, but I'm going to stay around for a bit. Well, there you go. Your mother just farted, so I don't know. I don't know if that means we should end or we just getting started. I don't know the fart rhythms of your mother, or mine for that matter. Thank God. Had to take some water after that one. Well, I think the goal for Coinmetro in general is passive income on every asset. And Mars is a big piece of that. So while there might not be staking, if you stake XCM and people trade XRP pairs and they hit the volume threshold, then XRP is going to go into our Mars reward pool and you're going to get some XRP for staking XCM. And now XRP native staking, well, that depends on what Ripple's working on. And if there is an option to do that, DeFi lending could potentially bring in the ability, not necessarily staking maybe, but passive income. And a lending product from us, say for margin, et cetera, in the future may allow for what is kind of similar to staking. But any type of lending product adds risk. And so we constantly have to look to try and limit risk and provide benefits. So right now, though, I don't see anything with XRP on the cards for passive income, aside from Mars. Yeah, alphabet boys and girls, and everything else, I guess. I don't know. Thanks, Camille. Is this really Camille? Amazing. Hey, man. Maybe it's not Camille. I don't know, but good question anyway. So we definitely have some real-world asset tokens coming. Somebody asked, I think, about buckets or baskets, though, I think. Or maybe I misread the question, which is why I went off on the ETCF thing. But yeah, RWAs are coming. Maybe not in basket form. They may be a basket, though, themselves. Any plans to provide all transactions for BlockPit, crypto tax, or similar services? We'd like to provide as many like to make taxes as easy as possible, I guess. So we have obviously downloadable CSVs, et cetera, for 2 different tax programs. You can definitely throw this in our feedback channel on Telegram, and we can take a look. So as far as listings go, not necessarily baskets of, but listings of RWA tokens. Keep your eyes peeled for next week, and then several weeks thereafter, because there are some coming. We are refocused on listings after getting some projects out of the way, and also some things going on the back burner for a bit of time. So you're going to see more listings. Thanks, Camille. Thanks for actually listening. Overtime for Camille, man. He's actually listening to the boss spout nonsense for 2 hours, man. Amazing. None of this was nonsense. This was all very serious. But I always like to try and make it not so boring. So hopefully that's what I did. If not, I'll try again next time when we release our next 5-year plan. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I am humbled by everybody that showed up, and I'm sure I'm going to be humbled by all those likes and subscribes and everything like that. So thanks for that as well. I want you guys to have a great Thursday. Digest some of this. Jump into Telegram at Kevin Murcko. Jump in our Telegram at Coinmetro. Tag me. Tag Camille for some marketing stuff or revenue-related stuff as well. Why not? You could tag Sam for tech-related stuff. Sorry, Sam, it's gonna be a long weekend. We've been pivoting, but I'd have to say if we were pivoting, we've pivoted. And lots of really cool stuff to come from Coinmetro, lots of change. And I think this bull market is going to be a market that we're gonna savor in many ways. And I'm happy that you all are on the train. I'm still gonna say train. It's a metropolis, but it's got a train, man. It has to have a train somewhere. And I'm glad you're all on the train with us. If you have a heck of a list, by the way, Guitar Man, go ahead and throw it in a Telegram. We'll take a look at it. And hopefully some of our lists match some of your lists. Anyway, guys, that's it for me. Just coming up on the potential 2-hour mark here. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for the continued support. I'm going to be the happiest guy in the world when we start knocking these plans out and you guys get some benefit from all the hard work that the entire team has been doing for the last few years and in the upcoming years as well. Cheers, everybody. Thanks again.